The sun rose like a burning eye over the desert world of Zather. Waves of heat shimmered across endless dunes, and the sand seemed to stretch forever in every direction. Human explorer Ethan Cole squinted against the glaring light, his water canteen almost empty. He had been mapping this uncharted desert for days, hoping to find signs of the rumored alien settlements, but so far, all he had found were tracks of strange creatures and the occasional oasis. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow and glanced at the horizon. Then he saw a faint glimmer in the distance. At first, he thought it was a mirage, the desert playing tricks on his tired eyes. But as he got closer, the glimmer resolved into the twisted remains of a spacecraft, half buried in sand. The ship's hull was cracked and scorched, and smoke drifted from one side. Ethan's heart raced. Ships didn't crash here by accident. Someone or something inside needed help. He ran toward the wreckage, his boots sinking into soft dunes with every step. As he approached, he saw movement, a delicate hand emerging from the wreckage. He hurried, calling out, "Hello, are you okay? Can you move?" A voice, soft but commanding, whispered, "Help. Me, please." Ethan's chest tightened. Whoever this was, they were in trouble. Ethan pulled aside a piece of mangled metal and found a figure lying in the sand. She was unlike anything he had seen before. Her skin shimmered with a faint silver glow, and her eyes were a deep, dark violet. Her body was slender, but her presence radiated authority and grace. She wore armor that seemed alive, almost organic, now cracked and burned. A jagged piece of metal had pierced her shoulder, and she was bleeding. "Hold on," Ethan said. "I've got you." He carefully lifted her into his arms, feeling the surprising weight of her body. She was heavier than she looked, but he was determined. "We're going to get you out of here." The sun beat down mercilessly as he began the trek back toward what he hoped was a safer place. His water was nearly gone, and the desert offered no shade, no rest. Every step was agony. His arms burned from carrying her, his legs ached, and the sand shifted underfoot. Yet he refused to stop. He refused to leave her behind. The alien queen he didn't yet know her title moaned softly. You shouldn't. Risk yourself." Ethan gritted his teeth. "I'm not leaving you here to die. Not on my watch." He adjusted her weight, feeling the sting of a cut across his forearm as he brushed against a jagged piece of debris. He ignored it. Survival wasn't just about him now. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky, relentless and unyielding. The desert seemed endless, and sandstorms began to rise on the horizon. Dark clouds of grit that would sting eyes and burn lungs. Ethan covered his face with a scarf and pressed on. Each step was a battle, but he focused on the soft rise and fall of the queen's chest, the gentle sound of her breathing giving him purpose. By late afternoon, Ethan spotted a small cluster of rocks forming a ridge. "Almost there," he muttered, dragging his burning legs over the final stretch. The queen's eyelids fluttered, and for a moment, her eyes opened. Violet irises stared at him, full of pain, fear, and something else, curiosity. "You're strong, human," she whispered. Ethan gave a tired smile. "Stronger than I look, maybe." He placed her gently behind a rock ledge, letting her lean against it. He scavenged the small area, finding a shallow depression that would shield her from the worst of the sun. Using pieces of his gear, he made a temporary shelter, small canopy of fabric to shade her from the burning rays. "Drink," he said, holding out his canteen. She accepted, her lips brushing his fingers. Her touch was light but electric, sending a strange warmth through him. He frowned. He didn't have time for thoughts like this. Survival first. Always survival first. As the sun sank lower, the temperature dropped slightly, but the desert was still harsh. Ethan took out a small emergency blanket and wrapped it around her shoulders. Her breathing was uneven, but she seemed stable for now. "Who are you?" Ethan asked, curiosity getting the better of him despite his exhaustion. "I am Queen Lyra of the Zolari," she said faintly. Her voice was musical, almost hypnotic. "You saved my life." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Queen?" He blinked. "You're an alien queen, and I'm just me. I'm glad you're alive, that's all." Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly, studying him. "Humans are different." Ethan chuckled. though it was weak. Different, huh? I guess surviving a desert and carrying someone 90 miles counts as different. Her lips curved faintly, the first sign of a smile he had seen. Different and brave. Night fell, and the desert cooled, though the wind carried grains of sand that cut like needles. Ethan kept watch, alert for predators. The desert was alive with unseen dangerous creatures that moved silently, hunting anything small or weak. But none came near. Perhaps the presence of the queen kept them at bay. Ethan sat by the fire he had built, staring into the flames. He thought about the distance he had traveled, the burns, the cuts, the thirst he had endured. It was hard, but he felt alive, and he felt responsibility for this queen, for her life, for the future that might depend on her survival. Lyra stirred, opening her eyes again. You carry heavy burdens, she said softly. Ethan shook his head. Nothing I can't handle. You're worth it. For a moment, they sat in silence, watching the fire dance against the rocks. The queen's breathing slowed, more even now, and Ethan finally allowed himself a deep breath. He knew the desert was far from forgiving, and tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, he had saved her life. Tonight, he had shown that even a human alone in a harsh alien world could make a difference. As the night deepened, Ethan couldn't help but wonder about the life of this alien queen. How did she survive in a world that was so different from Earth? What enemies had hunted her? And why, after all she had seen in her life, did she place her trust in him, one human among billions? He shook off the thoughts. Questions would come later. For now, he had to survive. And survive he would. For Lyra, for himself, for the strange bond that had begun in the scorching desert heat. A bond forged by courage, endurance, and the will to save a life that wasn't his own, yet had become his responsibility. As the stars spread across the Zather sky, Ethan and Lyra sat silently together. The desert was vast, dangerous, and unforgiving, but in that small shelter among the rocks, a human and an alien queen found a moment of peace, a moment of trust, and neither of them knew that this moment would mark the beginning of a story that would change both their worlds forever. The next morning, the desert seemed a little less harsh, though the sun still burned bright. Ethan stirred, careful not to wake Lyra, who lay wrapped in the makeshift blanket he had made for her. He had spent the night beside her, keeping watch. Her breathing was steady, but she was still weak from her injuries. Ethan checked the supplies. He had scavenged just enough water to last a day or two and some rations he had brought with him. He knew he had to act fast. The desert would not wait for anyone to recover slowly, and Lyra needed proper care. He carefully helped her sit up, supporting her fragile frame. Easy, he said gently. You've been through a lot. Lyra's violet eyes opened slowly. Thank you, she whispered, her voice soft but filled with a strange strength. You risked yourself for me. Ethan smiled faintly. Anyone would do the same. He paused, studying her injuries. Your shoulder is serious. I need to find a way to clean it and bandage it better. There's no telling what infections could happen here. Lyra tried to sit up straight but winced. I am strong, she said, but humans are stronger than they appeared. Ethan chuckled lightly. Well, I do what I can. You're in good hands now. He spent the morning scavenging around the rocky ridge for anything useful, water, plants, or rocks that could help him make a better shelter. The desert was harsh, but Ethan had learned to improvise. He dug a shallow trench for shade and built a small windbreak using rocks and fabric. By afternoon, he managed to clean her wound with water he had filtered and some cloth from his pack. Lyra flinched at first but did not complain. She watched him carefully, as if learning from him. You care deeply, human, she said quietly. I care about keeping you alive, Ethan replied. That's enough reason, isn't it? Lyra studied him, her eyes softening. Enough reason. As the day wore on, Ethan made her drink more water and tried to keep her comfortable. The desert heat was still intense, and both of them were exhausted. Yet, as Lyra began to recover, she started to move slightly on her own. Ethan encouraged her gently, helping her stand and walk a few steps. Every movement was careful, every step measured. "You are remarkable," she said, her voice weaker but filled with admiration. "I did not think anyone could survive the desert and help me." Ethan shrugged. "Humans can surprise you. We adapt, we endure, and sometimes we push ourselves further than we think we can." For the first time, Lyra's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. It was fleeting, but Ethan noticed it. There was something in her expression, respect, curiosity, and perhaps gratitude that went deeper than words. As evening approached, Ethan built a small fire. They sat beside it, the warmth comforting against the cooling desert night. Lyra's breathing was steadier now, and she seemed more alert. "You are different from anyone I have met," she said softly, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "Zeleri are proud, but humans have a courage and heart." Ethan looked at her. "I've never met anyone like you either. You're brave, even injured. You could have commanded your people from safety, but you survived this crash. That counts for something." Lyra's gaze lingered on him, and for a moment, silence stretched between them. It was not uncomfortable, rather, it was filled with a sense of understanding. Two very different beings, brought together by circumstance, learning about each other in a harsh desert. Over the next few days, Ethan helped Lyra regain her strength. He scavenged water and food from the surrounding desert, finding edible plants and small game. He taught her how to move carefully over the shifting sand, how to conserve energy, and how to read the signs of the desert to avoid danger. In turn, Lyra began to share stories of her world. She spoke of Zathira Prime, a city of shimmering towers and advanced technology. She described her people, the Zeleri, who valued honor, wisdom, and courage. Ethan listened intently, fascinated by her words. Though their languages were different, they used a small translator device she had in her pocket, along with gestures and drawings. Slowly, they began to understand each other. "You humans are remarkable," Lyra said one evening. "You endure harsh conditions and still care for others." Ethan smiled. "We do what we must. Sometimes it's survival, sometimes it's helping others. Both take courage." Lyra's eyes softened. "Courage like yours. You carried me when no one else could." Ethan shrugged, trying not to blush. "It wasn't easy, but I had to. You were in danger. I couldn't just leave you." She studied him closely. "You are, unlike any human I have ever known. You see value in life and honor in helping others. That is rare." Ethan's chest tightened. He wasn't used to being praised in such a way, especially by someone so regal and strong. "I just did what anyone should do," he said softly. "Not anyone would," Lyra replied firmly. "Many would. Leave you, or me, to die." The bond between them grew stronger each day. Ethan admired Lyra's intelligence, her sense of responsibility, and her quiet strength even in pain. Lyra admired Ethan's resilience, ingenuity, and unwavering determination. Two very different beings, learning from each other, growing closer with each shared challenge. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the desert in shades of gold and red, Lyra spoke again. "You'd save me, human, and I know you more than words." Ethan shook his head. "There's no debt here. I don't need thanks. Just stay alive, and that's enough." Lyra's violet eyes glimmered. "Alive. Yes, but more than alive. You inspire me. You show qualities Zeleri rarely see in others. Strength and compassion." Together, Ethan looked at her, feeling the weight of her words. He had never thought of himself as exceptional, just determined. But hearing her speak, he realized that perhaps humans could indeed be extraordinary in ways others did not expect. Over the following days, Lyra's condition improved steadily. She began to stand taller, her voice stronger, her movements more confident. Ethan continued to support her, teaching her how to navigate the desert safely and how to ration supplies. They discovered small oases, used natural shelters, and even evaded the occasional desert predator. Through it all, their conversations deepened. They shared fears, hopes, and dreams. Ethan spoke of Earth, his home, and the people he loved. Lyra spoke of her responsibilities as queen, the weight of leading her people, and the challenges she faced. Each day, they learned more about each other, their respect and admiration growing. One night, as they watched the stars stretch across the Zather sky, Lyra spoke softly. You humans have something rare. You endure, and yet still protect. Others you carry burdens, willingly, without thought of glory. Ethan smiled, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. That's what keeps us going. Hope, trust, and doing what's right, even when it's hard. Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting the starlight. I trust you, human, more than I expected. Ethan felt a surge of pride and humility. He had saved a life, yes, but he had also earned trust from someone extraordinary, a queen, a leader, a being from another world. And in that trust, a new bond had formed, one that neither the desert nor the stars could break. As they settled in for the night, the desert calm round them, Ethan and Lyra understood that their journey was far from over. The desert had tested them, taught them, and brought them together. And now, as allies and friends, they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The stars above seemed brighter that night, and for the first time, Ethan felt that perhaps humans were capable of more than survival. They could inspire, protect, and change the course of destinies, even in a world far from home. The desert of Zather, once empty and silent, began to stir. Strange shadows moved over the dunes as Lyra's enemies learned of her survival. A faction within the Zolari, jealous and ambitious, had heard rumors of their queen alive and injured in the desert. They saw this as an opportunity to strike, hoping to capture or kill her and claim power for themselves. Ethan and Lyra were unaware at first. They spent their days traveling carefully, moving from one small oasis to another, using the desert's natural formations as cover. Lyra's strength was returning, though her shoulders still ached. Ethan marveled at her resilience. Despite her pain, she insisted on learning survival techniques, how to ration water, how to sense approaching storms, and how to spot signs of dangerous desert creatures. You are determined, human, Lyra said one morning as they climbed a ridge of red sand. You do not stop, even when it is hard. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow and laughed softly. I'm just stubborn, I guess. Someone has to keep you alive, right? Lyra's violet eyes glimmered. Yes, you keep me alive, but I must fight, too. I am a queen, and I cannot be helpless. Ethan nodded. You're right. We do this together. For several days, they moved cautiously, avoiding open plains where they could be easily seen. Ethan found clever ways to leave misleading tracks, making it harder for anyone to follow them. Lyra watched and learned quickly, impressed by human ingenuity. However, danger was closer than they realized. One evening, as they rested near a rocky outcrop, a faint sound carried over the wind, a low hum of engines moving across the sand. Lyra froze. They are coming, she whispered. Zolari, soldiers or mercenaries seeking. Meet. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Then we need to move fast. Lyra tried to stand, but her injured shoulder caused her to wince. I will come with you, she said firmly. I will not hide. Ethan hesitated but saw the determination in her eyes. All right, together, then. They set off under the cover of twilight, moving quickly yet cautiously. Ethan guided them along narrow passes and rocky ridges, places difficult for others to follow. Lyra followed his lead, relying on his knowledge of the terrain while offering guidance of her own. Despite her injuries, she displayed remarkable courage. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the approaching hum grew louder. Ethan peered across the dunes, spotting a small squad of Zolari soldiers riding strange hovercrafts, scanning the desert for any sign of the queen. Ethan's mind raced. They were outnumbered, but the desert gave them an advantage if used cleverly. We need a plan, he whispered. We can't outrun all of them, but we can make them regret following us. Lyra nodded. Yes, the traps. The dessert will help us humans. Are clever, but so are we using rocks, sand, and pieces of the wrecked ship they had left behind. Ethan and Lyra set simple but effective traps. They created false tracks leading in circles and camouflage pits to slow down pursuers. Lyra watched, impressed by Ethan's skill, and added her own knowledge of the dessert to improve the traps. As night fell, the Solari squad arrived, their engines glowing faintly in the dark. They moved cautiously, unaware of the traps. Ethan and Lyra lay low, hidden behind rocks. The first soldier fell into a pit, its cry echoing across the dunes. Others paused, confused. Ethan seized the moment now. He whispered, using a combination of fire, rocks, and sand. They created a series of diversions that forced the squad to scatter. Lyra's agility and knowledge of the terrain allowed her to help move heavy rocks and guide sandstorms toward the pursuers, creating chaos. Even injured, she was a force to be reckoned with. After the chaos, the desert returned to silence. Ethan and Lyra emerged from their hiding spot, breathing heavily but alive. Lyra looked at him with newfound respect. You are amazing. Human being. In danger, you think clearly and act wisely. Ethan smiled warily. I do what I have to, and you're incredible too. That was teamwork. Lyra's eyes softened. Yes, a teamwork. Human, we understand each other better now. For the next few days, they continued their journey, moving faster now that the danger was close behind. Ethan found ways to create shade using rock formations and leftover fabric. Lyra helped carry supplies when she could, slowly regaining her strength. Together, they became a seamless team, each complementing the other's strengths. During a rare moment of rest, Ethan asked Lyra, "Why would someone want to hurt you? Why not leave the queen alone?" Lyra's expression darkened. Powered ambition. Envy some Solari. Think if I am gone, they can rule. But I will not allow that not while I live. Ethan nodded. Then we'll make sure you live, no matter what. That night, as they camped under a sky filled with stars, Lyra spoke quietly. You are not just brave human. You are steadfast and true. Many Solari would not endure like you. You inspire me. Ethan looked at her, unsure how to respond. I'm just trying to do the right thing. Lyra's eyes reflected the starlight. The bright thing is rare among many. Humans are rare, and that way, the following morning, the desert seemed less peaceful. Ethan spotted a ridge in the distance, and on it, small figures, more soldiers, approaching fast. Lyra, we need to move now. She nodded. Yes, we must. Fight or escape together. Ethan considered their options. They were outnumbered, but the desert offered many advantages. They used steep dunes and hidden valleys to confuse the enemy. Lyra guided him through narrow passes, while he used his ingenuity to create more traps and diversions. Together, they forced the soldiers into false paths, separating them from each other. Despite their injuries and exhaustion, Ethan and Lyra pressed on, never faltering. Each challenge only strengthened their bond. Ethan began to realize that Lyra's trust in him was not just because he had saved her life. It was also because they had become equals in facing danger together. As night fell, they reached a rocky canyon, offering natural shelter. Ethan set up their camp, and Lyra sat beside him, finally allowing herself to rest fully. You are remarkable, she said softly. Humans endure like a few other species. Ethan smiled, brushing sand from his sleeve. We do what we must, and we survive. That's what makes us strong. Lyra's eyes lingered on him. Strength, the courage, compassion. You have all three, and more than many. Solari, Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He didn't know how to reply, so he simply nodded. Words were not necessary. Their actions had spoken louder than anything they could say. The desert was far from safe, but Ethan and Lyra knew they had each other. They were a team, human and queen, bound by trust, courage, and survival. Whatever threats came next, they would face them together, stronger than ever. And as they slept under the stars, the desert held its breath, waiting for the next challenge, unaware that two of its inhabitants were already proving that even in the harshest conditions, courage, ingenuity, and trust could overcome any danger. After days of careful travel, Ethan and Lyra finally reached the outskirts of her homeworld, Zathira Prime. From a distance, the planet shimmered with towering crystalline cities, glowing softly in the evening light. It was a place of beauty and advanced technology, far beyond anything Ethan had ever seen on Earth or even in any human colony. As they descended from the rocky desert terrain toward the planet's entry gates, Ethan couldn't help but marvel. "This is incredible," he said quietly. "I never imagined anything like this." Lyra smiled faintly, still supporting herself on his arm. "Welcome to my world, human, but be aware, not everyone will trust you immediately." Ethan nodded, understanding the warning. After all, he had just carried the Queen across 90 miles of desert, survived enemy soldiers, and emerged far from any human authority. The Zoleri would naturally be cautious. The first challenge appeared almost immediately. At the gates of Zathira Prime, guards clad in glowing armor blocked their path. They looked at Ethan suspiciously, his human form strange among the familiar Zoleri. "Queen Lyra." One guard said respectfully, "Who's this human? Why does he accompany you?" Lyra straightened, though her shoulders still pained her. "This is Ethan Cole, of Earl. He saved my life and guided me through the desert." The guards exchanged glances. Ethan noticed the doubt in their eyes. Humans were rare on Zathira Prime, and it was unusual for one to be in the presence of the Queen without ceremony or invitation. He proved his worth, Lyra continued firmly. "His courage, strength, and loyalty earned my trust. You will allow him passage?" One guard hesitated, then nodded. "As you command, Queen Lyra." Ethan felt a mix of relief and nervousness as they were allowed through the gates. The city was unlike anything he had seen. Towers of translucent crystal glowed with soft light, while vehicles hovered silently through the air. Citizens moved with grace and precision, their eyes reflecting curiosity as they observed him. Lyra led him through the streets, explaining the customs of her people. "Zoleri are cautious of outsiders. Humans are rare and often misunderstood. But your actions prove of something different." Ethan smiled politely. "I just did what anyone would do. You are not like anyone else," Lyra said softly, her violet eyes meeting his. "You think differently, act bravely, care deeply." They reached the royal palace, a massive structure of crystal and metal, glowing softly with internal light. Inside, Ethan noticed the intricate patterns of technology that seemed to respond to Lyra's presence. It was clear her people had mastered a blend of science and artistry far beyond human capability. "Now, we must speak to the council," Lyra said. "They will want answers, and you must be patient with them." Ethan followed, nerves tightening in his chest. The council chamber was vast, with representatives of Zoleri clans sitting in a semicircle, observing him silently. Whispers spread through the room as they studied the human who had survived the desert and accompanied their queen. Lyra spoke first. "Council, this human, Ethan Cole, saved my life. Without him, I would not be here today. His courage and intelligence ensured my survival and the safety of our people." The council members exchanged glances, some skeptical, some intrigued. One elder stepped forward. "Queen Lyra, we respect your judgment, but this human, how can we trust him? His species isn't known to many here. How do we know he will not bring harm?" Ethan straightened, his voice steady. "I risked my life to save hers. I've endured the desert, fought alongside her, and used every skill I have to keep her alive. I am not here to harm your people. I am here because it was the right thing to do." A murmur of approval swept through some of the council members. Lyra stepped closer to Ethan. "He is brave and true. His actions Speak louder than any words. The elder studied him carefully, then nodded slowly. Your courage is evident, and the Queen's trust cannot be ignored. We will allow you to stay as an ally, though you must understand, humans are not common here. Ethan bowed slightly, feeling both relief and pride. Thank you. I will do everything I can to help. Over the next few days, Ethan began to learn more about Zathira Prime and the Zolari people. He observed their customs, their technology, and their ways of governance. He was fascinated by the blend of logic, honor, and compassion that guided their decisions. Despite being human, he found ways to contribute, offering insights from his own experiences and showing that humans could think creatively. In ways even the advanced Zolari did not always expect, Lyra remained by his side, supporting him and learning from his perspective as well. She began to see that humans, though physically less advanced than some Zolari, possessed qualities of ingenuity, resilience, and moral strength that were rare among her own people. One evening, Lyra took Ethan to a balcony overlooking the glowing city below. You humans are extraordinary. Ethan, you endured the desert. You protected me. And you think differently. Your courage, your heart, they inspire me. Ethan looked at her, surprised by the depth of her words. I never thought of myself as extraordinary. I just did what was right. You are extraordinary because you act when it matters, because you care more than most would, Lyra said softly. I see the partner in you, someone who can share the burdens of leadership and trust. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest he had never experienced before. He had carried her through the desert, faced enemies by her side, and survived challenges no one else could. And now, the Queen, the leader of an entire species, was acknowledging his worth, not just as a hero, but as someone capable of being her equal. Over the following days, Ethan continued to impress the Zolari Council. He offered practical solutions to logistical problems, helped improve emergency response strategies, and demonstrated skills that were uncommon even among the most advanced Zolari. Slowly, the Council began to see humans not as weak outsiders, but as capable allies, able to contribute in meaningful ways. Lyra watched this unfold with admiration. She realized that her feelings for Ethan were not just gratitude or respect. They were growing into something deeper. His courage, loyalty, and wisdom were qualities she valued more than any title or tradition. One afternoon, as they walked through the palace gardens, Lyra spoke again. Ethan, your presence changes how I see humans. You show courage and kindness. Together, that is rare. Ethan smiled, brushing a hand over the smooth petals of an alien flower. I guess humans can surprise even queens sometimes. Lyra laughed softly, the sound musical and warm. Yes, you surprised me in ways I did not expect, and I think you will continue to do so. Their bond had grown stronger than either of them realized. It was no longer just survival or trust, it was a partnership, one built on respect, admiration, and the courage to face challenges together. The city of Zathira Prime glowed around them, a symbol of the advanced civilization Lyra led. And within that light, Ethan and Lyra began to understand that their journey together was far from over. They had survived the desert, faced danger, and gained the respect of her people. Now, they faced a new chapter, one where humans and Zolari could work together, not just as allies, but as equals. As night fell, they stood together on the balcony once more, looking out over the shimmering city. You have done more than I imagined, Lyra said softly. You have proven that humans are capable of greatness and loyalty. Ethan looked at her, feeling the weight and honor of her words. I only did what was right, but I'm glad it helped, and that it brought us here. Lyra's violet eyes met his, shining with both admiration and something deeper. Yes, it brought us here together, and I see the future where humans and Zeleri can stand side by side, stronger than ever. In that moment, Ethan realized that their journey was more than survival or duty. It was the beginning of a partnership that could change the worlds forever. And he knew, without a doubt, that together, they could face any challenge the universe placed before them. The sun rose over Zathira Prime, bathing the crystalline city in golden light. Ethan stood on the palace balcony, gazing at the shimmering towers, the bustling streets, and the citizens moving gracefully through the glowing avenues. The city seemed alive, filled with a quiet energy that reminded him of both the desert he had survived and the earth he had left behind. Lyra joined him, her injured shoulder now fully healed, her presence regal yet warm. She had grown stronger each day, both from physical recovery and from the trust and bond she had built with Ethan. You have adjusted. Well, human, she said softly, her violet eyes reflecting the sunlight. You have earned a respect here and among my people. Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of pride and humility. It's been incredible to see your world, to help you, to learn from you. I never imagined I'd be here. Lyra stepped closer. You have done more than imagine. You have inspired not only me, but my people and the council. The council had spent days discussing Ethan's role among the Zeleri. While humans were rare on Zathira Prime, his courage, wisdom, and ingenuity had earned their admiration. The council saw what Lyra already knew, that humans could be heroes, leaders, and partners in shaping the future. As Ethan and Lyra walked through the palace gardens, the city's beauty surrounded them. Crystal fountains reflected sunlight, flowers of alien colors glowed softly, and pathways shimmered with energy that responded to movement. Citizens paused to watch them pass, recognizing the queen and her human companion. Some nodded with respect, others whispered with curiosity, but all seemed intrigued by the human who had carried their queen across the desert and fought alongside her. Lyra led Ethan to a secluded courtyard, where a small ceremony had been arranged. It was not a traditional wedding, but a symbolic union to honor the bond between them, a bond forged through trust, courage, and shared challenges. Ethan Cole, Lyra said, her voice clear and strong. You carried me across the desert, protected me from danger, and stood beside me when others would have faltered. You have shown courage, honor, and heart, qualities that even the bravest Zeleri admire. I ask you to be my partner, my equal, and my husband. Ethan felt a wave of emotion. He had survived deserts, faced enemies, and helped an entire species see the value of humans. And now, the queen of the Zeleri was asking him to stand beside her, not only as a companion, but as someone who could share in the leadership and responsibilities of her people. I accept, he said finally, his voice steady despite the overwhelming feeling in his chest. Not just as your husband, but as your partner. Together, we will face whatever comes. A gentle murmur spread through the gathered citizens and council members. This union was unprecedented, a human formally joining the life of the Zeleri queen. It symbolized trust, unity, and the possibility of a new era between humans and Zeleri. Lyra reached for his hand, and Ethan took it firmly, feeling the connection between them. We will face challenges. Yes, but together, she said. Together, Ethan repeated, a smile spreading across his face. The ceremony was simple but meaningful. Lyra presented a small crystal pendant, a symbol of her leadership and the unity of her people. Ethan accepted it, feeling the weight of responsibility and honor it carried. They exchanged vows, not just of love, but of partnership, courage, and commitment to protect and inspire each other. After the ceremony, the council members approached them, offering congratulations. Some were still cautious, but even the most skeptical members had seen Ethan's bravery and loyalty firsthand. They acknowledged that humans, when guided by courage and morality, could indeed be trusted allies and even leaders in their own right. Ethan and Lyra spent the following days visiting the city, meeting citizens, and learning more about each other's worlds. Ethan taught Lyra about human customs, ideas, and perspectives, while Lyra shared the knowledge, culture, and history of the Zolari. Together, they explored ways to combine the strengths of both species, humans' ingenuity and resilience with Zolari technology and wisdom. One evening, as they stood on a high balcony overlooking the glowing city, Lyra spoke quietly. "You have changed not only my life but the future of our people. Humans have potential beyond what we believe." Ethan nodded, watching the city below. "We all have potential. It's just a matter of courage, trust, and working together. That's what got us through the desert and everything else." Lyra smiled softly. "Yes, and we will continue to grow together, stronger than ever." The union of Ethan and Lyra became a symbol of unity across worlds. Citizens began to see humans differently, not as outsiders, but as capable partners in shaping a brighter future. Cooperation between species increased, with humans contributing ideas, skills, and courage, while the Zolari offered guidance, wisdom, and advanced technology. Ethan found himself learning and adapting constantly. Life on Zathira Prime was different from Earth, but he was welcomed, respected, and trusted. And through it all, Lyra stood beside him, offering support, guidance, and companionship. As weeks passed, they worked together on projects to improve communication, safety, and understanding between humans and Zolari. They faced challenges from skeptical leaders, natural disasters, and even remnants of the faction that had pursued Lyra in the desert. But their combined courage and ingenuity allowed them to overcome every obstacle. One night, after a long day of planning and discussion, Ethan and Lyra sat together in the palace garden. The glow of the city reflected in their eyes, and the soft sounds of alien flowers filled the air. "You have I become more than a hero, Ethan," Lyra said softly. "You are a partner, a friend, a part of my life and of my people's future." Ethan took her hand, feeling the warmth and strength of her grip. "And you have become more than a queen to me. You're a leader, a friend, and someone I want to protect and stand beside. Always." Lyra's eyes shone with a mixture of pride and affection. "Then together, we will face the future, whatever it brings." "Yes." Together, Ethan agreed. The stars above Zathira Prime seemed to shine brighter that night. Ethan and Lyra understood that their bond was not just personal, it was symbolic of hope, unity, and the courage to face challenges side by side. Their love and partnership inspired those around them, showing that differences in species, culture, and background could be bridged through trust, courage, and mutual respect. As the weeks turned into months, the partnership between humans and Zolari flourished. Trade, knowledge exchange, and joint missions expanded opportunities for both species. Humans began to arrive on Zathira Prime, learning from the Zolari and contributing in ways that surprised even the most advanced citizens. Ethan and Lyra continued to lead by example, demonstrating that true strength came not only from power or technology, but from courage, compassion, and the willingness to protect and inspire others. They became a symbol of what was possible when two very different worlds worked together in harmony. And as they stood once more on the palace balcony, overlooking a city alive with light, energy, and hope, Ethan realized that their journey from the scorching desert to the heights of Zathira Prime was only the beginning. Together, they would face whatever challenges awaited, united by trust, love, and the courage to make a difference. Lyra looked at him, her violet eyes filled with admiration and affection. "You are mine, not only as my husband, but as my equal and my partner in all things." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth unlike any he had ever known. "And you are mine as my queen, my partner, and my guide in all things. Together, nothing can stop us." The sun set behind the glowing towers, casting long shadows over the city. Below them, the people of Zathira Prime went about their lives, inspired by the union of two worlds. Above, the stars stretched endlessly across the sky, a reminder of the vast universe waiting to be explored. And so, Ethan and Lyra stood together, hand in hand, ready to face the future. To beings from different worlds, united by courage, trust, and love, proving that even in the vast expanse of the universe, connection and partnership could overcome any obstacle. In the end, it was not the desert, the enemies, or the challenges that defined them. It was their courage, their unity, and their willingness to stand together. And as the stars watched silently above, the human and the alien queen became a living testament to what was possible when hearts and worlds aligned.